said going into last week, we knew what we were going into, and really a Washington State program that is playing at a really high level of confidence, a lot of energy. I thought they brought it right from the start. Their offense was tremendously difficult for us to stop, and defensively they're big and fast and really executed well. And the advantage for us, and we knew this going in, we were going to be tested in the fires, and so we've got to see who rose to the occasion. I thought some guys played particularly well. Really like the play of Frankie on defense from start to finish. Just played hard with a lot of confidence, enjoyed the moment. I thought his leadership is something that we really need to tie into moving forward. The fact that he was able to perform that well in that environment. And I thought our defensive front, our defensive line played well and stronger throughout the game. I thought, particularly as Washington State started to rotate some guys into the game, I thought our defensive line at that point, in many instances, they were winning the battles in the trenches. And then I thought the same with our offensive line. As the game went on, our offensive line really found some rhythm, some stride, protected the quarterback better, opened up some holes in the run game. And so we, as a team, as a coaching staff, we found some things in that game, which is, it would be fantastic to go and knock those guys off, win a game, get an upset. We weren't prepared to do that, quite obviously. But we can learn a lot more from losing that game than we can winning, and that's the challenge right now, is can we apply those lessons. This week, Coach Hawkins and his staff at Idaho State have done a really good job of identifying immediately who they are. I think they're ahead of us from an identity standpoint. They know exactly who they are. They're not running incredibly complicated systems of offense, especially defense. It's certainly kind of a chaos philosophy, but I think they're a program that right now is just based on effort and hustle, and they play tremendously hard, and really impressed with what they've been able to do in a short period of time.
Can you touch base on the running game? Afari, first 100-yard rusher of the season. Just talk about his progress so far.
Yeah, and we recognized David Afari as one of the offensive players of the game, and he did play really well. I thought Red as well out of the backfield played well, and had the nice touchdown later on the catch. The offensive line opened up some big holes. David's biggest run was untouched, I think, for the first 12 yards, and then he even still had an angle right there. So really pleased with the way that the O-line and running backs are coming together as a group, as a unit. And I think our run game's getting better and better.
You're up.
I'm up. Thank you for bailing me out there on the first one. I appreciate that. Performance against Washington State, most points, most yards, most productivity this year. Safe to say, right? I mean,
yeah, I think our guys are mature guys. I think they very well understand that we were out of that game early, and yet when you're playing a Pac-12 opponent and a top 25 opponent, some of the backups that are coming into the game for Washington State were still very quality players. We also punched the last drive of the first half in against their starters. Their majority of the guys on the defensive field were still their starting lineup. So some momentum, some things to build off of. In no case do I want to say, oh look, we're 3 touchdowns against Washington State. Imagine what we're going to score against XYZ opponent. No, we need to take it in context. Washington State came out very motivated, more prepared, and just played a better game. Positives for us: we didn't quit. We found some rhythm. We moved the ball, and that's something that we needed to improve on. And I think we at least can see that. Well, the plays can work. I think from a player perspective, that's something maybe they're catching on to.
I was going to ask, from that, most plays, most yards, most productivity. I think you kind of answered that. Was that meaningful? What did that mean I don't think I was paying as much attention to a depth chart as I probably should have been. So good to hear for me that some starters were there in the game at some point. So you were doing some of your good work against some starters.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
right.
That's a good sign,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think you probably know me well enough now. I want to establish a credibility and an honesty with the players, and so when I tell them I believe they're good enough to win this year, I also have to be honest when we come out of a game like that, and we need to recognize that our production didn't come at the right time of the game to compete in the game. But it was production, and there are things to build on. And so we want to celebrate those moments, but also take them in context. And I believe we have a mature enough team. If they're not quite mature enough to understand that yet, I'm not going to give up on doing it the right way. And I believe the right way is to just be very honest with them about where we're at and where we need to be. And at the same time, I believe we have the ability to be a much better football team.
You mentioned Frankie, you mentioned the D-line, you mentioned the offensive line. Certainly, David playing from those guys, taking advantage of the. What else did you see that? I think what was the word? We got to see who rose to the occasion.
Yes.
Sorry, my note taking is a little scattered today.
Yeah.
You got to see who rose to the occasion. Anyone else you want to mention on rising to the occasion, Ed?
Sure, yeah, there were, not to look back too much,
I
but
understand.
just all the highlights, really. There were plays made that these guys will carry on their personal highlight reel for the rest of their lives and on a big stage against a quality opponent. And so, Jamari bringing down the touchdown against very tight coverage, is what we call a 50-50 ball. It could have been intercepted. And for Serm to trust that moment and trust his receiver and put it out there where his receiver could get to it. And Serm's rhythm over the course of the game was the best that we've had.
Really?
And part of that was the offensive line, just giving him a little bit more space than we have in the past. He was able to step into some throws and to find timing and find rhythm, and the receivers were working and they're doing their jobs out there. We came out of one of our naked, or what people call a bootleg pass, and he was under a lot of pressure, and he trusted the running back, and Red hauled it in and broke a couple tackles, took it for another nice touchdown. Tyzel had a lot of nice plays. Tom on the special teams. Hunter, Carver Cheeks continues to excel in the special teams. They're guys all over the place, having great individual efforts and trying to contribute to the team. And we just need to build on that more and more. I do feel that, regardless of the level of opponent, I feel that every game the team has gotten a little bit better, and I think that's a great sign. As we get into conference play, can we catch up? We have some catching up to do to compete with the teams in our conference.
What kind of challenge does Idaho State pose for you guys? Dennis and I were talking, let's definitely look ahead.
Yeah.
What kind of challenge does ISU pose?
As I said, I don't want to make the case. It would be inaccurate of me to say that they're a simple system of offense and defense, but I think they have their identity. They're a pass first team on offense, and they're not questioning that identity as they go through the game and saying, geez, can we establish a little more of the run game? They want to pass it to open up the run game, and probably like to close out some games with a lot of run game. Defensively, they have stayed, regardless who they're playing throughout the season, they've stayed with their 3-3-5, a lot of pressure, and they're going to put their best athletes on the field, really allow them to run, fly around, be aggressive, create chaos, and if you try to kind of gang up on them with a bunch of tight ends or fullbacks, then they're going to get even more aggressive rather than bringing in an extra D lineman or two. That's been them so far. So that's impressive for me to see, because we've set out to build the thing as if we're in year 4 or 5. We have more complex systems of offense, defense. We bring in a lot of personnel groups on both sides of the ball. We run a lot of coverages. We run a lot of pass concepts, and it's taken a little longer than it should have. And So we've got to. We're still figuring out our identity. I think every game we've made progress toward that, but I don't know that we're caught up yet to Idaho State. It'll be a great test of the way we're trying to build it here and the way Coach Hawkins has built it there. I've been very impressed with what they're doing there.
Is this a good matchup for you?
I think every
Yeah.
every game on our schedule is a good matchup for us.
You answered my question. I was looking at some stats last night, and the quarterback, Cook, kept showing up on some, again, it's early, everybody's played 3 games, maybe 2, but he kept showing up on some rankings, listings, and I'm like, the team's been outscored, but this guy keeps showing up, so
Right.
they must really be relying on him, so that kind of makes a little more sense too.
A lot of pass attempts, a lot of pass yardage. Really impressive what they do in that part of the game, and they try to go as fast as they can for the most part and get as many snaps as possible with as many passes as possible. They lead the way with their passing game.
I thought that, from what I could tell, the tempo at Washington State was pretty high. They were playing pretty fast. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
There was a definitely. They kept moving.
yeah, most.
Is that? Do you like that? Is that?
Yeah, most teams now are really trying to push the pace
Are they?
after successful plays, and you see us do the same thing.
Okay.
It's really difficult, just when the pace and the tempo first came into the game, before even the officials were kind of ready for it, and they were behind on spotting the ball and stuff like that. And maybe this was 15 years ago, I don't know, I'm not an expert in the history of it, but just by my recollection, it was about then when people first started to maybe push pace. And they were just doing it for the sake of pace, for the sake of making the game longer, more plays, more offense, more excitement, just an identity. And what people found pretty quickly was it's kind of hard to run all the way down the field and have an incomplete pass and then come back and hurry again and take much of an advantage over the defense. And so really, for the most part now, there are very few teams who are trying to go fast after a failed offensive play. They're pushing it. And so what you saw with Washington State was a lot of success, especially I thought that first drive we really came out prepared. We fought. They had 2 really close 3rd down conversions that they barely got. They had a 4th down conversion that they barely got. And then we had them sacked in the tight red zone with 2 guys on their quarterback, and our 2 guys ran into each other. And kind of buzzard's luck there on the first drive, and we lost a little momentum and a little confidence, and I thought we could have and should have played a lot better after that. But my point is, Washington State wasn't doing a lot of tempo or pace on that first drive because we were playing pretty solid defense on the first drive anyway. In subsequent drives, we gave up some bigger plays and then had to align quickly and try to match their pace, and weren't able to do it.
Are you guys kind of thinking that with Big Sky starting, this is sort of a new season? Are you guys looking at it like that at all?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to do that even?
No, yeah, I mean, we don't want to shirk the responsibility of learning from our failures.
Sure.
A new season is one way to say it. I explained to our players after the game that in most sports in college and in professional sports as well, you have either a preseason or what they call around here at college a non-championship portion of their season. So like a baseball and softball will play a fall season. That's a non-championship season. It's a chance to get out and compete and learn who they are. We don't have that in football. It's expected to win right from game one, and that's part of the excitement of college football that we all love. But I do think it's important for our players to recognize that statistically and record, there's a new set of statistics. There's a new record that comes out after this week, and we have 8 straight conference games, and it's a new opportunity to establish something different. I still want us very much to be the mindset that we are right now at 0-3, where we're disappointed but not deterred.
Okay, thought we took a really positive step forward last week. We had our best offensive outing. We moved the ball. It's exactly what we preached all week was worry about us. Let's get better every day, 1% better every day, have a growth mindset, And I thought our players came out and attacked practice every day like that. I know last week you mentioned the attitude was different, and it was, and we've continued with that. It's really fun to see our players grow and get better week to week, really embrace our culture and what we do and how we do it, right? They're learning how to practice to win, right? And I told them in our Sunday meeting, every week's a new week, but you aren't just given the opportunity to win on Saturdays because you show up. You have to earn the right to have the opportunity to win on Saturdays by how you prepare Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And, some of that preparation is physical on the field, Tuesday through Thursday, and a lot of that preparation is mental, right? Whether it's Monday, learning it, or your Thursday or Friday. We talked about the next step, I think, in this progression is not only continuing to practice at a high level and come out with the right attitude and focus on details, but also that final preparation from the time you step off the field on Thursday, that last practice, to all the way up to game day. That final preparation mentally, and going over your checklist and going over your assignments and details. And so we're taking steps in the right direction every single week. Really proud of our kids, how they played. The one thing I stressed to them, and I told them, hey, I don't care what the score is. It doesn't matter. As long as we go through a process, that's all we can control. And I said, all I want to see is strain and compete. If there's any time left on that clock, I want you competing your tails off. And I thought they did that, and I thought that showed up. And just really, really, really proud of our kids, how they battled, and excited for this week's opportunity. Idaho State's a good team. I know Coach Hawkins personally really, really well. Great dude, love that guy. I know he's going to have his team really well prepared. He's really detail-oriented, really, really smart. And so it'll be fun to see him, but it'll be a fun game for our kids, right? I mean, just go out there and compete, and so start conference. Here we go.
Let's go with that, starting conference, and here we go. Do you sort of look at this as a little bit of a new season?
1,000%.
Blair, but yet mindful of what has happened in the goods and the bads and the lessons and all that
Sure.
from the last 3 weeks?
Sure.
Really?
A lot of times people when you take over a new program, especially when it's a whole new coaching staff, a lot of people refer to it as year zero, right?
I've heard that,
And
yeah.
so if you think of it in those terms in year zero, essentially you've got your 3 games that are non-conference. We learned so much about ourselves, who we are as players, as a coaching staff, as a program, and culture, and things we've got to iron out, and things we've got to clean up, and things we've got to change. But at the same time, we've learned a lot about our football team. And so I know we talked about last week how we've had a lot of really good competition in our non-conference, a lot of really good teams. And Coach Lamb talks about the productive struggle, and I think it has been very, very productive if we'll view it that way. But I think our players have taken it that way and run with it, so we have gotten better. And so, 100%, new season, fresh start, here we go. I mean, our whole goal is let's go 1-0 in conference. Let's go 1-0 in conference, and let's start this thing off on the right foot, and ready, set, go. Here we are.
Why do you think you can beat Idaho State?
Why not? Why not? We've gotten better every week. We've got talented players. We've got kids that are bought into the program. And so, I mean, I think you approach every mindset with, hey, we're going to shoot our shot and give our best effort. But, I think we've got a real opportunity in front of us. They're a really good team. Their defense does some really fun and exotic stuff. They create chaos. And so, but why not? Why not win? I mean, it's about time we win around here. So,
Is this a good matchup for the offense against their defense? Do you like that? What is it? Mono? Missing some lessons in Spanish there possibly.
Yeah.
Is that a good
mono? Yeah, I think it's
unit versus unit?
I think they're a really competitive defense. I think statistically, what's happened to them, they've had just as tough of a schedule, if not tougher than ours. Non-conference, right? I mean, they play San Diego State, they play Utah State, they play Northern Iowa. So they've played some really tough teams as well. So, I mean, statistically, you don't look at the stats, you throw those out, you watch the film, and you say, man, they fly around. They fly around, they play really hard.
Fast.
They play really fast. They are flying all over the field. You love playing good competition. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us. I think our kids are just feeling like, okay, especially offensively, we've gotten better every week. And the vibe after the last game was, okay, we just had our best offense performance versus Washington State. And I mean, the number of kids that came up to me afterwards of, all right, we're about to flip it now. Like, we're there. Like, they see it, they feel it, they believe it, they trust it. So really, just honestly, there's a sense of urgency. Like, hey, we got to get this done. There's a sense of urgency in the building, but it's also a sense of belief. And so it's fun because I think offensively it's kind of the first time. You know, you play the first couple games, okay, what is this? What is our system? New coaching staff. How are we going to be? Who are we? And, you know, it doesn't go your way, and all of a sudden they just keep grinding, right? I used to work with a guy, Greg Davis, amazing coach, and he always had the sign in our offensive room that said, just keep chopping wood, right? Good or bad, just keep chopping wood. And so they just keep going about their business, doing their job the best they can, and they're seeing the improvements, right? And so really excited about where we're at as an offense. I feel like we as a coaching staff and as players know our team better. And so just excited about the opportunity this week.
What you did against Washington State, most points, I think most yards.
No turnovers, most explosive plays.
Yeah,
It was,
David rushing, obviously.
Over 100 yards,
A couple other offensive mosts there that I probably don't remember. What did, to help me move forward, Blair, hang with me here on asking a question about the past, but what did all that mean? I mean, Dennis and I were talking against Washington State, that there were still some first-team guys in it. I think on that first scoring drive from what
Oh,
Dennis
yeah, they
said.
played their starters up until midway the third quarter. Yeah, we scored on their first-team defense. And,
Okay.
And they, like I said,
So does that mean more then to you?
honestly, sure. I mean,
Okay.
sure. I mean,
Maybe.
I don't think we're looking. I mean, whether it's their first string or second string, it's Washington State. They got good players on their depth chart across the board.
Okay.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
for all we know, those second teamers that we scored on are going to be playing a lot of reps at the end of the year.
Totally.
So you look at it as the whole of. I like to focus more on us, not about them, but it's about us. Like,
Okay.
we were executing at a high level. We
Okay.
were executing the things we were asked to do that maybe we didn't execute the first 2 weeks. And so the attention to detail, the execution was at just a much higher level. And that's just a credit to the players buying in.
Why did that happen then? Why did that happen?
Yeah,
Why did so much kind of come together?
Just kept chopping wood, kept
Really?
working at it. I mean,
It's as simple as that.
You see our practices. It's a high-spirited practice. It's an intense practice. We're flying around. We're working at it. We're detail-oriented. We simplified a few things. But I think our players, the other thing, belief. I think they believe, and they're starting to believe. And so when you believe, you can do powerful things. Guys are making plays. And, Red or Darius Stewart, he catches the flat pass and breaks 2-3 tackles and then runs it in for a touchdown on a whatever big long pass play. Afari breaks a couple tackles, and there's a big 30-yard gain down the sideline, and there's another big gain up the middle. And so I think it's belief. I think it's confidence. I think it's confidence in them. And, hey, okay, I really understand what we're doing and why we're doing it and what we're trying to accomplish. And so, but at the same time, I credit them how they practice. They earned the opportunity to compete at a high level on Saturday by the way that they competed and prepared Monday through Friday.
Okay, going back to what you said earlier, I kind of got
Yep.
a little bit lost there. We should also mention Jamari, with the catch
Yeah,
the other
great
day.
catch, great focus,
That was not
great
a ball that he hauled in against Incarnate.
Yeah.
I don't know what it exactly would
Great
look like.
improvement there. Great for the confidence. Really proud of. We were so pumped when he caught that. And, he had a nice catch on the slant as well. And so, just keep working with our kids. We've got a lot of talent here. It's just about we have a lot of talent and a lot of potential, and it's about turning that potential into production, right? And so I think that's what we're doing.
Can we maybe expect to see Hank getting some time versus Idaho State?
That's a great question. We'll figure it out.
Pardon me?
That's a great question. We'll have to wait and see.
Tune in.
Yeah,
tune
tune
in. Okay. All right. You can get out a lot by telling a reporter that's a good question. What's it going to take to win? Offensively, what do you guys need to do to win this game?
Execution. Execute our stuff.
Pass, run.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we were really balanced last game. I think we talked about that going into the game. We needed to have more of a complementary style offense. We've got.
Do you want that again?
Yeah. I mean, I think you want that every game, right?
Okay.
I think you want that every game. And sometimes the game is going to dictate, hey, you throw a little more, you run a
Right.
little more, based off of circumstances, situations, and who you're going against and their personnel. But I think in order to play championship football, you want to have that complementary style, or at least you want to be able to know that you can run the ball whenever you need to run the ball, you can throw the ball when you got to throw the ball, and you can execute.
You got to do both.
Exactly.
Okay. And it sounds like you feel as good as you have all year about your ability to do both.
Totally.
To play a balanced and complete offensive game.
That's
Fair?
a fair statement. Fair
Okay.
statement. Feel confident in our kids, and I love the direction we're going offensively with the buy-in and the belief and the work ethic. Those are all the things, right? Those are all the things you always hear. The buzzword, the last 5 years, culture. But it's real. It's real. There's a lot of really bad teams that have really good players, but it's all about culture. It's all about your standard of how you practice and work day in and day out. And you don't necessarily always get your goals, but you always get your standards. And so when your standards are at a certain level, you work to your standards, you'll get those. Everyone can have a goal, but if you're not willing to work to it, or your standards aren't high enough to reach that, then you're probably, you leave it up to chance. And I don't like living in the world of chance. It usually doesn't work out. So, you always hear, was it the Marines or the Navy say, you don't rise to the level of the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. And so it's the same thing, right? Like, you might not always get your goals, but you get your standards. So make sure your standards are high enough, and then work to your standards every day, and then you'll be in a good spot.
I want to make sure I heard this. One of the things that you like from what you've seen is from Sunday to Friday, the preparation.
Mm-hmm.
That has gotten better.
Absolutely.
What goes on behind the scenes, what most of us
1000%.
don't even really see.
1,000%. I worked with a guy who was really, really successful, has been a head coach at a lot of major P5 programs, and I was really fortunate to work for him. And one thing I'll never forget, it was one of my first coaching jobs, someone said, "Oh, the hay's in the barn," after Thursday practice. And he looked at him kind of sideways and said, "What do you mean the hay's in the barn? The hay's never in the barn until you kick off. And even then, there's in-game adjustments." And someone's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "You think we're just dumb because we walked off the field on Thursday practice?"
Yeah.
I said, "No. You can get so much better the end of Thursday's practice up until kickoff by studying your film, by picking up on tendencies, by studying your call sheet, your game plan, by knowing your assignments even better than you did on Thursday, by correcting that Thursday film and getting even better." So the hay's never in the barn. I think that was my message this Sunday was after the game, we played our best game, but let's take it to another level. Let's pick up our personal preparation from the end of Thursday to kickoff. And so we are maximizing our opportunity. But the hay's never in the barn. And if you have that mentality, it's the never satisfied mentality. Good isn't good enough, let's go be great. And then great isn't great, let's be elite. And so I think that's the mentality I want our players to have. That's the mentality we have as our coaching staff. And I think that's a championship mentality. I've been really fortunate to be on some really, really good teams and some really, really bad teams.
Sure.
And there's not much of a difference in a lot of ways. The difference is probably something like that, but it's that mentality. It's that good isn't good enough. Let's go be elite.
The practicing,
not-
the work
it's-
ethic.
it's-
I mean,
the hay's never in the barn.
Okay.
You're not satisfied with
Okay.
good. You want to be great, and when you're great, you want to be elite. It's that never satisfied mentality. It's stay humble but stay hungry.
yep.
Lie in the weeds and wait, and then pounce when the opportunity's there.
So, just recap of the Washington State game. Obviously, wasn't the results that we were wanting or hoped for, but I think that we're making progress as a team. I think the culture's moving forward. I had a player come in yesterday to see me, one of our players, who during the game, he didn't play the way that he wanted, and anyways, during the game, I think he lost some composure on the sideline, and anyways, he came in to talk to me about it, and it was really encouraging because I think he was able to acknowledge the areas that he needs to improve, and he was self-aware, which is huge progress from where this particular player was even back in the spring and even just in fall camp. And so it's those types of things are encouraging, and our message to the players is continue to focus on us, continue to focus on our effort, our attitude, and managing the negative thoughts, and the score will take care of itself. And even though statistically and the scoreboard is not showing the progress that we want, this is a process, and we're really encouraged by just the mindset of the players. Like, if you just turn the film on and you see the way that we were playing the game, the effort, the physicality, the hustle, the no quit, I think we were way farther ahead than where we have been in the way that we play the game. And there's things to improve on, there's things to correct, like our execution and our tackling, and that will be addressed. But I think that we are moving in the right direction. as we continue to build this thing.
Can you talk about Frankie a little bit? His name was atop the stat sheet. Talk about his play.
Frankie, yeah, I'm really proud of him and just the way that he's been playing and his level of preparation. At times throughout fall camp and spring ball and the summer, he was a 3, and sometimes he was a 1. Sometimes he's been 2 at that nickel spot that we have him. And he's just hung in there, and he's just been competing, and he's bought into our goals of playing with great effort and great attitude. And you see it show up on game day. And he's probably been one of our more consistent players on defense, and we're definitely one of our more consistent defensive backs. He's been tackling well, he's been getting off blocks well, and doing all the things that good football players do. And so really excited just about his progress, and I'm happy for him. And it shows up in just his level of buy-in and just the way that he comes to work every day.
Jordan, he's made that move to linebacker. How has he been so far as we head into week 4?
I think he has a good understanding of his assignments, and I think he's continuing to progress as just playing like a linebacker, more like a linebacker, and not as much like a safety. He was one of the leading tacklers on the team last year, and so we knew that he would come in and be a great tackler. I think Jordan's self-aware of the areas that he needs to improve, and it's a great week for him to focus on those improvements that need to be made. But all of us on defense, including the coaches and myself, we all have our different areas that we need to improve on. I think the good thing that we have going is I think everyone's self-aware of what those areas are.
He's still one of the leading tacklers, right? He's still up there.
That's what we would expect him to be.
5 or 4, or there's a couple of guys who are tied, and he's up there. I noticed that. I was looking at some numbers last night. What impresses you, Preston, about the Idaho State offense? What do you like from that group based on what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think they play with 4 receivers for most of the game, and I think all 4 receivers are talented. I think they have what I'd call a whole basketball roster of receivers, from point guards to power forwards to a center.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they have a receiver that's 6'7" that has really good ball skills and ball control. So they've got an assortment of different types of receivers, and I think they use them well. They have, you've seen 2 quarterbacks primarily show up. Number 1 is the guy, what we believe is their guy.
Cook?
Number 7. Number 7, the kid from last year, he's also stepped in and played meaningful snaps for him as well. So we'll be preparing for both of them. I think both of them have their own unique skill set. I think number 1's a little bit more mobile, but he does a nice job of creating or improvising with his legs in order to throw the ball down the field. And so I think it's an explosive offense, though. I think they have good players, and it's a good scheme. And but I think I like the plan that we have.
If they're throwing it a lot, if they opt to throw it a lot, you feel good about pass defense and control. I think that quarterback, Cook, I think he's throwing for, close to 300 yards a game? Does that ring a bell? Remember? Something like that. Sorry. I knew that last night. He's up there among the leaders, in the early going. I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm close.
Yeah, no, I don't know the exact number of
you.
yards that he's throwing per game, but I know it's a lot, which is not surprising. I think their coaches do a nice job of putting him in environments to be successful. And I think he distributes the ball to his playmakers efficiently. We've got a tall order in front of us.
I was wrong. It's only about 203 yards a game.
Which is and
Nothing to sneeze at.
Considering that he's also been sharing reps too, but as a team, I think they're throwing for well over 300 yards a game. But they're definitely someone that wants to come out and throw the ball, and we'll accept the challenge. And I know our DBs, I know that the boys, I think they'll be ready. I think they'll be excited for the opportunity to show themselves and to showcase their abilities. We're going to do the best that we can to have our guys in position to be successful.
Are you guys at all looking at this like an opportunity, a little bit like a clean slate, Preston? I mean, okay, game one in Big Sky. Not that the other 3 games didn't mean anything, but it's just sort of like, okay, let's start fresh, let's start new? Or do you not take that point of view?
No, I think that's each week is a week to start fresh.
Okay.
And I think that's the attitude, that's the mindset that we try to approach the season with. But I did say last week that the season is broken into 3 seasons within. Now we're on to the second season within the season, which is conference play, and where each game matters. Even more. To what you said, yeah, every game matters. But now we're in a conference play. It's a clean slate as far as stats go with conference, and I think we have a better idea of who our guys are, who we are, and what we can do and what we can't do. And so, yeah, it's a new week, new team. That's the approach I think that most people in college football and sports in general try to approach. That's the mindset, the framing that they come with is just new week, new team.
You mentioned a few areas where you feel like you guys have gotten better. Well, certainly Frankie. Where have you seen some progress? And you mentioned the young man who came in and was chatting, and Jordan figuring out a new position a little bit, maybe with some challenges there. Where else are you seeing some progress? Even I know you're the defensive guy, Preston, but even looking from above, high up, just across the board, where are you seeing some good signs? Where are you seeing some progress? Where are you seeing some improvements that might not have been happening 3 weeks ago or whatever?
I just think that the guys.
Is that clear? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I'm understanding what you're asking.
I'm sorry if that isn't clear.
I think that the players are playing hard. I think we're playing with more effort than we've been playing with.
Really?
More pursuit, and I think just the level of preparation. I think more guys are coming in and spending more time watching film.
Really?
And understanding and trying to understand the game plan on a higher level, and really working closer and closer towards position mastery. I think that, and I just think the guys are playing with no quit. And I think that regardless of what the scoreboard is saying, or what the media might be saying, or what fans might be saying, or regardless of all the outside influences, I think they're staying focused. I think they're just focusing on us, on our goals, on our effort and our culture. And so that's, I think, where we've been making the most progress. And again, I will continue to preach and to double down that the score will take care of itself as we continue to improve in those areas.
From a coach's perspective, is it really, can you give me an idea on how hard it is when you got a team that's 0-3? Yes, there's been some good stuff. There's been some not so good stuff. Is it tough to keep that, let's go, keep fighting, come on, no quit attitude going in the room or in the program? Is that a really tough thing to do?
I think I think all of us at points in our lives, just talking outside of football, but
Sure.
just in life in general, I think setbacks can weigh heavy on you regardless of who you are.
Sure.
And I think the best approach when facing adversity or facing these setbacks is just to see the big picture. And for us, we're just getting started. We're just scratching the surface of reaching our potential, our full potential. I think that we haven't played our best football yet. And when you look at it through that lens, I think that there's a lot to be excited about, because there's flashes when we're playing at a high level. I mean, you look at the opening drive, we come out, stuff them on first down, stuff them on second down. Actually, it was third and long. We let them out of it. Stuff them the next first down, stuff them the next second down, let them out again on third and long. And then, and then they had to convert on a 4th and 2 in the opening drive. And so I think if you look through that lens and really lift up the hood and see what's going on inside, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Now, that doesn't mean that we're here to just talk about and celebrate moral victories. That's not what we're in the business of doing. We're in the business of getting better. But I think that.
But you're seeing that though.
But you're seeing flashes, and then our job as coaches is to continue to find ways to help the players be more consistent and help find ways to help them continue to develop their skills and fundamentals as football players, as people. And I think we're inching towards it. You know, how fast that will be, it's, you know, I guess we'll find out this
Stay
Saturday.
tuned.
Yeah, that's to be continued.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe that things will work out. I'm optimistic, and I'm confident that things are going to work out. And I don't know what that looks like, but we won't stop believing that things are going to work out.
What does your defense have to do to win on Saturday?
I think just the basics, like play with great effort, play with great attitude, and the score will take care of itself. And execution is our strategy, and as coaches, we're focused on just putting the boys in position to play fast. And we have good football players here, and it's the players that are going to win the game for us. And so that's what we're going to continue to focus on is making this thing player oriented, and letting them go out and win the game, letting the Frankies, the Jordan Kanapkis, the Dustin Johnsons, the Nick Norrises, all those guys, the Brooks Miles, we're just let those guys go and play and win the game, because it's players that win the game.